my God. It's him.
You son of a bitch!
Toxic?
Toxic.
This is disgusting.
Toxic.
Toxic.
Toxic. Toxic!
Hey, he's a sadistic bastard.
Oh, yeah.
What is going on, everybody? It is the 5th episode of Camping Them Softly, hosted by me, the Toxic Teacher. I cannot believe we've made it to episode 5. I did not know I would make it this far, or that we would make it this far. Thought maybe, but it looks like we've done it, which is very, very exciting. Still trying to get in the swing of things, though. I feel like I'm not quite there yet. I am not quite happy with, kind of the sound, the cadence, and all of that. Just because doing a podcast is very, very different than doing a stream, where you're supposed to be talking like the entire time. Podcasting's seems to be a little bit slower, but we're getting there. I feel like we've got a lot of good material. I feel like we've got a lot of good things in the works now. Talking to some other content creators about potentially collaborating on future episodes. If you are one of those collaborators and you would like to be featured as either a guest or maybe even a co-host, if we have one of those, that would be excellent if you decide you want to do that. Also, if you have any questions, you need anything, want anything, just let me know. We'll talk about it on the stream. You can email me, TheToxicTeacher@gmail.com. You can also find me on all social media sites at TheToxicTeacher. You can find me on all of the social media sites at ToxicTeacherTTV, or you can shoot me an email at TheToxicTeacher@gmail.com. And then we'll get around, we'll talk about it, we'll see what you guys want, and then we can go from there. I'm sure we'll get some good stuff from the community, from the killer mains though, not the survivor mains, of which, we've got a lot to talk about in that respect, because I study survivor mains. I want to know how they work, and I can pretty much tell you how they work. In the fact that they usually don't work, or just the brain part might not work. And the reason being, I follow all of the forums, like the Dead by Daylight forum. I follow Reddit and Facebook, Twitter, and all of that. And it's just that constant stream of negativity, the constant stream of complaining that survivors are always nerfed, killers are always buffed, and it's just the same thing over and over again. And you heard in the last episode, I about lost my shit simply because somebody said they wanted to nerf Lightborn just because in the Alan Wake chapter, they get all these perks, right? They get some extra perks that make flashlights better. So they say, well, killers don't need a defense against that. Which I kind of lost my shit, and we ended a little bit early on that. I couldn't take it, and I didn't like where I was going with it. So I had to stop myself, which is smart, right? Before you say anything too crazy. I did see a post before we get into like the meat of what I wanted to talk about. I did see a post on the Dead by Daylight forums that I want to read to you, and I'm not going to name names, but you can find it on there. I'll read the thing, and then we'll talk about it just a little, and we'll go through a couple of the responses as well. So this probably comes from a survivor main, so just take it for what it is. Probably doesn't make a lot of sense, and it's probably wrong, but we need to talk about it because we need to talk about how wrong it is. So here we go. The subject line of this post: it's no longer an exaggeration. Everyone is tunneling. I know, it shocked me too. This is breaking news here. The text of the post: I don't even know what to say that hasn't been said 1.3 billion times before. I'm going to stop there because he is not wrong. It has been said 1.3 billion times at least that tunneling, that's all killers do is tunnel. It's the tunnel of love here on camping them softly. Which that's the name of the podcast, although you can't camp really anymore. So it's like proxy camping them softly. So anyway, want to keep going. So I don't even know what to say. Hasn't been said 1.3 billion times before, but almost everyone is tunneling, and I'm sick of dealing with it. Now, he's sick of it. And let's keep going. Combine that with this current insufferable killer meta of Scourge Hook, Deadlock. He actually put deal lock as two separate words. Deal lock. And see, that's a survivor bane for you. Remember I said the brain doesn't exactly get going right. So, you know, Deadlock, I can read that. I interpret. I study the survivor main mindset, the professional excuse maker, the master of excuses, I think is what we called it. I think on the stream, somebody mentioned that phrase and I loved it. The master of excuses, like master of puppets, master of excuses. So Scourge Hook, Deadlock, Dead Man Switch, etc. Couldn't even give a fourth perk for this meta, etc. And this has become one of the most unbearable eras. And he put an apostrophe in eras as if era has possession of something else. We remember this from like second grade English class, right? Like apostrophes. Should be ERAS, not ERA apostrophe S. Survivor main, obviously. One of the most unbearable eras of this game ever. It's so bad that the first 2 to 3 minutes of matches now are just survivors crouch walking everywhere for fear of being the first one seen. Something has got to change. Now let's let this sink in. I'm going to repeat the main points of this post. Number 1, everyone is tunneling. Number 2, we've got the meta of Scourge Hook, Deadlock, Dead Man Switch, etc. And then also the first few minutes are survivors crouch walking. Okay. Now, I'm going to go into the responses after this, but I'm going to give my response and then we'll go into the other people's responses, the other intelligent and maybe some unintelligent responses. So let's go to the first point. Everyone is tunneling. Wrong. Not everyone is tunneling. In my experience, because sometimes on the weekends I'll play in the mornings, which is where you get the bonus blood points for survivors. And I do play survivor because I study survivors, like I said. I study them. I'm always looking at them. So I'll play them. I have not experienced a lot of tunneling, and I know that's anecdotal, right? You can't equate anecdotes to data. But I highly doubt the data's there for everyone is tunneling. I think that's just whenever you make those gigantic sweeping comparisons, you're just kind of revealing yourself as kind of not as knowledgeable or prone to kind of fallacial. Is that right? Fallacy, fallacial, fallacial. No, that's not right. It sounds terrible, but you are prone to fallacies in your arguments, fallacies in your arguments, right? Fallacies. I know, it's terrible. So that's just slippery slope. Everyone's tunneling. Wrong, 100% wrong. Okay, so let's go to the second point. The insufferable killer meta of Scourge Hook, Deadlock, Dead Man Switch, and blah, 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 blah. Now, if we go to nightlight.gg, I'm going to go there now. I have not looked at this, okay? I want to repeat. I have not looked at the community stats, which Nightlight's one of the main ones we've got, it, with the exception of that drop of data that Behavior had a while back. I'm going to pull it up and I'm going to see what it says for the community stats. Give me 1 second here. I know. Okay. So we're looking at the last 14 days. Actually, I want to go further back. I don't know how far back we should go. I don't know. You know what? We can go back a couple. I want to do a custom date range. Can we do a custom date range here? Why does it not let me do a fucking custom date range? Okay, that's fine. Whatever. So this is going to show the last 28 days of data. Going all the way back to February 6th, okay? So of the perks that I see here, we've got the number one killer perk is, and you might guess it, this person's right on one of them. It's Scourge Hook Pain Resonance. So they are correct on one of them actually being a very used perk, right? Now, is pain resonance worth like losing your shit over? I personally, I am very hesitant to like get really upset about this just because you only have 4 tokens and you can only do it 4 times, right? You can only get the gen regression, which in tier 3 is 25%. You'll get 25% gen regression 4 times in a match. Okay. Now that's 25% of whatever is completed of the progress, right? According to my brain and what I just made up, I think that's what it is. It's not 25% off the top. It's 25% of whatever percentage you're at. And somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Even if it's 25% of the entire gen, 25% of 100%, I still don't think it's that bad. I don't see that. Now, he also brings up deadlock, which is only used like pick rate for Scourge Hook is 27%. Okay, that's used quite a bit. I'll admit that. That's like, 25% of all perks are Scourge Hook. If we go down to deadlock or deal lock, as he calls it, it's only used 8% of the time. And if we recall deadlock, what it does is it if a generator is completed, it blocks the next gen with the most progress, right? And up to 30 seconds. Now, it's a great perk. Don't get me wrong. But is it highly used? Is it a meta perk that's just amazing? Like it just everybody, runs it? No, not really. So that part of the argument is obviously wrong. I've got to go back because I actually don't remember what the third stupid thing he said was. Let me fuck. You would think I would have had it pulled up, and somebody in there that's smart is going to look it up. Fuck it. You know what? That's what I do though. This is exactly what I do. I don't do research. I didn't print it out. Obviously. I found it here. I'm on the forums. Just found it. Give me one sec. Okay. So he says deadlock, dead man switch was his next one. So let me check dead man switch and what it is. Okay. So remember deadlock was 8% of the picks. Dead man switch, 7.58% of the picks. And remember what dead man switch does. Let's say I hook a survivor. If another survivor stops repairing a generator before it gets fully repaired, the generator gets blocked for up to 30 seconds. Okay. Now, it's a good perk. It's a very good perk, depending on what you run with it. Any perk I like that makes them scream like friends till the end is a really good one. To run with that. We could talk about that perk combo here. So I'm going off topic. I realize but this survivor main, yeah, forget about him, but that's, so here's what I like to run whenever I run dead man switch. Okay. So you take dead man switch, you combine that with friends till the end, which is a Chucky perk. Now, what Friends Till the End does is that will make it to where whenever you hook somebody, the obsession will change to one of the survivors. And then whenever that obsession changes, they scream. Now, you might say, well, what's the big deal? They scream, they're exposed for a certain period of time, which I don't know off the top of my head. But when they scream, if they are on a gen, their screaming stops them from working on the gen. So how does that work with, Friends Till the End? The way that would work is that they would stop working on the gen, scream, and then the generator blocks because of dead man switch. So people are working on gens, it's going to block it every time you get a hook. That is insanely better than Scourge Hook, in my opinion, simply because it's buying you time as a killer. And also it takes effect on every single hook. It's not just 4 times in a match. It's going to take place every single time you hook somebody. So if you hook the same survivor, let's say we want to tunnel. Okay, let's say this guy is totally correct. We're going to tunnel his ass out. So if we hook him 3 times, dead man switch activates 3 times. So we get 3 30-second blocks on there. That's great. That's badass. And I have made very good use of dead man switch. Now, is it meta? No, that's not right. And this guy is he's killing me. He's killing me, Jerry. So yeah, I wanted to show you that, or not show you, because I can't show you. I can only explain it to you because we're on a podcast. Now let's go to the third issue here. Okay. So he says it's so bad that the first 2 to 3 minutes of matches are now just survivors crouch walking everywhere for fear of being the first one seen. Okay. So the argument is that they're not going to gens. They're just crouch walking for 2 to 3 minutes. Okay. Now, here's my question. Okay. If I'm playing Survivor, if a killer is tunneling, let's take his argument and we'll run with it. Let's pretend he's right, which Survivor mains are not normally ever right, but I'm going to pretend, sake of argument. Okay. He's right. Killers tunnel. Do you want to be the first person seen? He's saying that's a bad thing. Okay, like that's a negative. How is that a negative? Like, why, in what world would you want to be the first person seen, even if tunneling wasn't a thing? Would you really care? Like, I don't want to be the first one hooked. Okay. If I have to hang back a little bit, let the killer do his first round, right? Because that's a lot of time what the killers do. You know, that's what I do. You'll kind of make a round of the gens, listen for the progression. Unless you have lethal pursuer, then you just gun it and start beating ass right away. But I'm going to do my rounds, okay? So if I'm hanging back as a survivor and I'm hiding behind something, just wait for him. I see him go by and then I start the gen. Right? Like, why do you just jump on a gen and then he sees you as he's doing his round? That's just kind of a ridiculous argument as to that being a bad thing, right? So let's go through the comments. So we've gone through every single point. We've very intelligently and excellently torn his nonsensical argument apart. But I want to go through and we'll look at some of the comments, okay? So this guy, he sounds like a voice of reason. He says, how is this the most unbearable meta ever when tunneling has always been possible? We don't even have camping anymore. Did you play versus old camper twins? Now, excellent point on this person's part. Just because tunneling has always been a thing, it's always been something that's been argued. The only thing is now that killers actually have some decent ways to block gen progress and to prevent gen rushing. How is that bad that killers now can stop gen rush? Do we then take it away? Is this the exact same argument that we had last week about killers have too many resources at their disposal? We've got to take away their ability to prevent flashlight, stuns. We've got to take away their ability to prevent gen rushing. We've just got to, like, what they would want, what Survivor mains would want, is to have no killer in the match. Or have a killer in the match that either can't move, has no weapon, has no perks, can only hit you one time and then disconnects, or something like that. They just want it to be generators are us. Professional excuse makers. Okay? Professional excuse makers. Now, this one killer main, I can tell because I like this sense of humor, says, if it makes you feel any better, I don't tunnel. I like to slug/snowball instead. I love it because like slugging is the one thing that is, you know, pisses off survivor mains more than tunneling. So if I'm looking to like generate heat, I don't know if you're a wrestling person, if you have ever watched like pro wrestling or wrestling, as my dad used to call it here in the South. They didn't call it. There was a difference between wrestling and wrestling. Wrestling was, you know, the guys at the gymnasiums jumping off the turnbuckles and elbow drops and leg drops and all that stuff. But if there's one thing that can make people more mad than tunneling is slugging. And what's especially funny, it makes Twitch TVers and YouTubers and don't get me started, but a kick, it makes all the streamers very upset to be slugged and left to bleed out because that doesn't generate good content. And that's what they're looking for is content farming, which we're going to talk about in another episode, the idea of content farming and what that does to the deranged minds of survivor mains. So this next comment is pretty good. It's no surprise people are playing in the most effective way possible to win. If it's a problem, the blame is not on the killers. It's on the devs for making tunneling and camping so effective. Now, this is an excellent point. It's well thought out. And actually, Otsdarva, I believe, brought this up as well, is that tunneling is one of the most effective strategies killers have. Now, the problem with this is this goes back to the argument that survivor mains are always going to make, that they should play the way we want them to. This is for our fun, the survivor's fun, right? Killers are allowed to do X, Y, and Z, and if they don't, it's not fun for us, so we will whine and cry until the devs change it, so we can have more fun at their expense, and they have to do what we basically tell them to do. Now, tunneling is effective. If I'm a killer main and I want kills, and I want a lot of kills, I want 3 kills, I want 4 kills. And tunneling is effective. If it's effective to get the weakest link out of the chain, why would I not do that? Right? It makes perfect sense as to why you would do that. Now, if you're a survivor main, you may say, well, we need to make tunneling no longer viable, like buff decisive strike and buff fucking whatever. There's 20 perks you could potentially buff or make base kit or whatever to stop tunneling. But the problem is now killers are going to have to get something on the back end for that. You're going to get something, you're going to give something, because you can't take that away and then expect nothing on the back end to happen. There will be consequences to that action. And you may not like those consequences. You know, sometimes that happens. Survivors get what they want, but they don't like what comes after that. It's happened to killers before. Killers have liked something that's changed, but then again, that has some knock-on change, some new buff on the other side that creates an even bigger problem. So it's just like, oh my God. Yeah. Now here's a survivor main. I don't want to be just the spin zone. We're going to be the no spin zone, according to like dumb news stations. So a survivor main said, I think it's because face campers have swapped to it after the anti-face camp was thrown in. I'd also say the 3-gen killers swapped to it as well, but I'm not entirely sure on that. That said, a lot of people have called me a tunneler, even though I'd spread hooks or they'd be a 4-stack of the same character cosmetic, and it's hard for me to keep track. Now, that brings me to another couple points. See, we're getting a lot of stuff. I'm getting a lot of material here, a lot of content. So the first thing is the anti-face camp. I could see that being a viable backup strategy, right? We can't face camp like we used to. Sadly enough, I made the podcast Camping Them Softly, and camping is not even as big as it used to be, which makes me very sad. But if it's the new viable option, do it. And it actually may even be faster in some cases than face camping, you know, because face camping takes a certain amount of time for the survivor to go to stage 2 and then die. The 3-gen killer, you know, switching to tunneling, like the poster, I'm not sure if that's actually the case. And there's no way to back up any of these claims. So now, the last point this person makes is totally on the ball, is that you get called a tunneler even though you spread hooks, which has happened to me. I spread hooks 1 1 1 1 2 2 2 2 3 3 3 3 4 4 4 4 and still get called a tunneler. And how the fuck does that make me a tunneler? I don't get it. I do not understand it. And it's poppycock is what it is. I am not thrilled. I know it's terrible. I am not thrilled. I'm unthrilled. This sound alert lasts way too. Oh, I hit the button again. Fuck. Okay, it's still going. I thought pressing it twice would do something, and it doesn't. But I can press these fart sounds. Okay, there we go. So the last comment this person makes is like a 4 stack of the same character and cosmetic. I don't know who the fuck is who, and I don't fucking care. Like, why do I care? You know, I'm not watching for the survivors' names and saying, oh, don't chase that person. You know, don't chase Billy Bob because Billy Bob TTV, because they need content for their channel and they keep running their ass into me, which is another point. Because if you fucking like, dude, if you get unhooked, you run and then you come right back at me, you can bet your ass I'm gonna tunnel you. Why would I not? You're right there in my fucking face. So yes, you're gonna get hit again. Yes, your endurance is no longer there. So I'm gonna hit your ass, you're gonna fall, and then I'm gonna hook you a second time or a third time if it happens, you know, again. And then they complain. Like, what do they want? I don't even understand. In a world where let's go to the infinite worlds theory. Okay, I was a philosophy major in school, so let's go to the infinite worlds theory. Let's pretend there's a world where this person makes sense. Okay, the original poster makes sense. Okay, so they say, you know. They say that somebody comes at me, okay? I hook them, they come at me again, and I'm supposed to do what? If I'm not supposed to hit them and hook them a second time, what in the fuck am I supposed to do? I don't even know. Do you just turn your back, take 45 more seconds to find somebody else? I don't even fucking get it. Like, I don't know. I don't know. And it's just... You can see where I'm going with this. It's just that, you know, it just, there's no good argument that I can see. One person actually posts, devs have said they consider camping and tunneling a valid strategy. Which it is a valid strategy. How is this bad? Like, how is it not? Like, how is it not? I don't get it. Now, I'm just reading this. I haven't screened it because I'm just reading. I'm reading as if this is my first time, because it is my first time, because I didn't read through all the comments. I just found the fucking post. So somebody says, how do you really stop killers from tunneling though? Any protection or measures you give them would surely be used against killers, just like how on the record decisive strike and even the built-in BT can be. I totally 100% agree. That is the offensive use, not offensive as in it offends me. It does offend me, but the offensive use of those perks. Offensive, maybe might sound better. I'm a country boy, so I'll say offensive. So anyway, you use it for an offensive purpose. I get you. I down you. That's not tunneling. And a big unpopular opinion, the poster says, but I think if tunneling was disincentivized to the point of no longer being viable, DBD would be more boring for it. Now, that's an interesting proposition there, I think. It most certainly is. That's my sitcom sound for like if two people are kissing, like, you know, Saved by the Bell or something. Hey, I know most of you guys probably never listened to Saved by the Bell, but let's keep going because this is an interesting. This is a very interesting post here. Says the idea that the killer can tunnel you out and you have to play well to survive or have your team win is fun, tense, and dramatic. If, for example, the killer just leaves you to satisfy an X-hook win condition, that'd be boring, right? Sure, you might end up surviving, but so what? The killer let you survive for their win condition. You didn't escape from skill or teamwork. I think the real issue here, as usual, is matchmaking, as well as solo queue and swift coordination / information disparity. These both need to be improved further. Now, getting into that whole Swift and matchmaking, that's another day. That'll be another podcast. If someone wants to talk about that, give their thoughts, let me know. But the fact that tunneling is an option, and the fact that you can get out of tunneling, the fact that you have to help somebody when they're being tunneled is cool. It's not bad, right? I mean, it fucking, like, it makes the game better. And yes, if the killer is letting you go, is that what you want? Do you want the killer to let you win? Are you like a 10-year-old and your dad has to let you win so you feel good? Like, that's the exact same thing, exact same situation. I will not accept any other thing other than that. So that is an excellent point in the post there, and this all came from the Dead by Daylight forums. Again, the subject line of this is it's no longer an exaggeration. Everyone is tunneling. So if you want to contribute to that, if you're on the official Dead by Daylight forums, it's up there for you. So that I intended for this to be kind of not the meat of the podcast, but it actually did become the meat of the podcast. And I want to give a shout out to somebody I was playing against yesterday. I was playing Killer. Person had the funniest name, survivor name ever. You know, this was a random. He had the name Small Meat. And I accidentally coined a new quote. Small meat, it's hard to beat. And I love it. Small meat, it's hard to beat. I'm going to have to find a way to put that in like my channel intro that you see whenever you pull up my YouTube or my Twitch. Oh God. Yeah, I'm getting some good stuff. Just to give you an idea of what I'm doing, I'm still working my way through the new page of the tome that just opened. I got a couple things done yesterday. I'm going to aim for a couple of more. I'm going to stream after this. We're recording this on Tuesday night. So I'm going to stream a little bit after this. We'll try to post this podcast hopefully tonight or tomorrow. So that would be on the 5th or the 6th. And guys, I just want to thank you. We're kind of nearing the end of this, and I just want to thank you guys for everything. You guys have been great. I'm getting more downloads. We're actually going up in listeners. We're going up in views on YouTube. We're going up in views all over social media, and I appreciate that. And if you want to contribute with a question, with you want to be a co-host, you want to be a guest, let me know. I am totally down for whatever we can figure out. I want to make this podcast as much yours as it is mine. But I want you to make it better. I want some killer mains. I don't want fucking survivor main unless we have, I don't know if you guys watch the old show Crossfire. We can make it like that maybe. If you don't know what Crossfire is, go look it up. If you are a fan of Tucker Carlson, number one, you can stop listening to me. And then number two, look at that and watch Jon Stewart destroy him on Crossfire. It was actually really good. He ended up having to quit the show and like go underground for a few years before he came back up on Fox News as a slithering serpent and evil human being. So anyway, that's that for Camping Them Softly. Again, I am the Toxic Teacher. You can find me on all the socials and on Twitch at ToxicTeacher TTV. You can also find me on YouTube at The Toxic Teacher. Also, if you want to shoot me an email, TheToxicTeacher@gmail.com. Again, this was Camping Them Softly. If you are a killer main, make sure you camp them, but don't camp them hardly. Camp them softly. Thanks, guys. I'm done.
That's toxic. You son of a bitch!
Toxic?
Toxic.
This is disgusting.
Toxic.
Toxic. Toxic!
Hey, he's a sadistic bastard.
Oh yeah.